It's the end of the world. Well, not yet. But our hero, the Cap, is trying to stop a flying battleship from targeting and killing the very people it was supposed to protect. But how would this flying fortress be able to track millions of targets, and how would it know what to mark as a target to begin with? Although the captain lives in a fictional world, recent revelations surrounding the US government have suggested that the idea may not be so far-fetched. While it's unlikely you will find a flying American ship stealthily shooting down people it doesn't like, recent insights into American spying programs has revealed that they could at least get the targeting part down. Again, originally being told that the battleships were meant to protect the people, the Cap argues that such surveillance equates to fear, oppression, and obviously an intrusion of privacy. So the question to consider here is mass surveillance, like what the US government has been found guilty of, a good to society that must be kept, or should it be banned in the name of human rights, like that of privacy? Perhaps giving the issue some historical context would aid in a logical proposition. Now, there's some debate as to when exactly the US government took on its Big Brother role, but most experts can agree that the new and upgraded Big Brother was born with the passing of the USA Patriot Act in 2001. This program allowed the US government greater access to communication mediums and the ability to intercept signals to and from recipients within the nation's borders without the need of a warrant. Later in 2007, Congress passed the Protect America Act that essentially extended the capabilities of the Patriot Act to foreign lands. Like the argument presented to the Cap, both of these acts were passed under the pretense that such measures would prevent a tragedy like the 9/11 attacks from happening again. In other words, it would help the government better maintain the security of its people. But the public was never told what measures were taken to meet such an ambitious goal, not until the 2013 NSA leaks. Now these leaks are a series of classified files that are to this day still slowly being released. The magnitude of this event lies in the revealing of the explosive growth US spying programs experienced following the Patriot Act, how they are implemented, and who implements them. The man responsible for the leaks is Edward Snowden, a former NSA employee who justified his actions by believing the public needed to know the truth. So what truth did he expose? He suggested that the government had essentially developed a master key that could open the doors to any person's entire life. Some of the programs that make up this master key consisted of programs like Dishfire, which gives the NSA the capability to intercept any text message being sent or received within the nation's borders. Another is Tempora. This program allows the NSA and other intelligence agencies like that of Great Britain to place software and hardware at the ends of submarine communication cables in order to intercept internet traffic leaving and entering the continent. The more well-known program, PRISM, is one that allows the US government to legally request and retain any data about individuals from third parties such as Google without the need of a warrant. This basically means that any and all companies that handle your personal data are middlemen spies. So what do all these programs lead to? X-Keyscore. This would be the program that the battleship Cap fights uses to target its victims. X-Keyscore can do exactly that and much more. The program basically works as a personal Google for the NSA. It compiles all the data that all the other programs have gathered and neatly organizes them to make them easily accessible when required. So we've covered that the NSA has access to everybody's phone records such as call and text message history. Consequently, they also have access to everyone's internet transactions such as personal data like email or Facebook messages. And finally, they can access everyone's current location as well as where they've been and presumably where they're going to be. We can basically conclude then that the NSA practically has access to everything concerning personal data of anyone who uses a phone or the internet. So the question again is mass surveillance like that implemented by the US government a good to society that must be kept, or should it be banned in the name of human rights like that of privacy? Does the answer to this question have to be all or nothing? Perhaps there's a medium where most people can agree. Currently, the social media seems to be overwhelmingly filled with the abolitionist mindsets like that of Judge Napolitano, a judicial analyst for Fox News Channel, that believes mass surveillance is un-American and an infringement on people's rights. Protest and hostility towards American spying programs are all too common, but there still are some who strongly support the use of such programs, such as Dianne Feinstein, chairman of the US Senate Intelligence Committee, who suggests that people undermine the role that the public surveillance plays in maintaining the public security. After all, no one seemed to be alarmed when spying technology prevented terrorists from bombing Times Square, or when surveillance programs allowed the US government to pinpoint who was responsible for the 9/11 attacks. It would seem then that the answer is all or nothing. But what if we were instead to introduce new legislation that would allow governing bodies to provide security to their constituents while appeasing the people's concern? A step towards this direction could be made by encouraging Congress to pass laws that specifically address the following suggestions. First, while the Obama administration has made efforts to shift the storage of data from the NSA to third parties like that of Google, a law should be introduced that makes it illegal for the government to store bulk data in the manner that they have, such as dedicating entire buildings to the cause. This will relieve the concern of people who feel that the government has overwhelming power by having unrestricted access to all aspects of their personal lives. Second, since according to the Electronic Frontier Foundation, 66% of Americans are primarily concerned with the NSA's unrestricted access to their metadata, redefining the search warrant process in a manner that restricts the authorities from forcefully obtaining the metadata stored by third parties would ease the mind of most people by reassuring them that their personal data will be kept secure. The only way that such data would be relinquished is in the case of probable cause as proven by a warrant. The people would also be further protected by restricting the amount of data the third party is required to give to the amount relevant in a particular case. For example, if a person is suspected of terrorist activity, it would not only be impractical but illegal to ask Google for all the data that they have on a particular user. Authorities would instead have to work with a year or so worth of data prior to the alleged incident under investigation. Of course, this doesn't mean that the third parties couldn't voluntarily consent to giving more information, unlike the current policy under the NSA's PRISM program. The third law would require the authorities notify those who have specifically been targeted or tracked within a year of closing the investigation. This would ensure that those who were tracked be told of how long they were tracked and what data was collected from them, while also letting them know how the data was used. While the suggestions presented apply to only American legislation, it's no secret that most of the internet traffic flows through American servers, which is why applying these measures to the country that is leading the mass surveillance movement would be the most effective way of allowing the people to feel secure while allowing their government to make sure they stay secure. The cap and the world in which he lives in is a fantastical one, but it's not too different from our own. Our government uses tactics such as mass surveillance to protect us, but at the cost of some of our personal liberty by tapping into our conversations and interactions we had once thought to be private. We have proposed solutions to the objections many have had of being under constant watch as a compromise for the government's security in exchange for a lessening degree of privacy infringement. Much like it has always been, the government should operate so smoothly that its populace is unaware by changing three key aspects. The NSA should cede its data storage to third parties to reduce the amount of control and power that the agency has over each person's digital history. The search warrant should be redefined for current times so that its terms may be relevant to include digital media and how we should handle the legal process of collecting and using the data in criminal cases. Individuals who have been closely tracked should receive some form of notification after a period of time, but not immediately in case the threat that they present is a clear and present danger. So where does this leave us? We have a government that has admitted to its mistakes. A few examples of how we could change the policies to ensure our protection without sacrificing our privacy, and a lot of unease in the population about what else we might not know. Blind trust is not an option anymore, but neither is assuming the government of being just as criminal as those it protects us from. How do you think the bureaucracy should handle this? How big should our government be? And what powers should it have over our information in this digital day and age?